from the real world to Tough Enough, where he could earn $1 million contract spread out over 4 years, but never mind the semantics. Let's talk about the fact that Mike Mizanin was born to succeed and overachieve, despite the fact that WWE officials and certain WWE talents wanted him out of the goddamn locker room for eating chicken over a bag. But who was it? Why didn't you say his name? Oh, because that guy decided to go home and then send out a text saying the dogs are in the enclosed pool area and the side garage door is open. Oh, it was that guy. But credit to the Miz, he persevered. He fought through a lot, jobbing and jobbing and jobbing, teaming with John Morrison, splitting up from John Morrison pretty soon after they got together, if we're being perfectly honest. And then he became WWE champion, main eventing WrestleMania 27. Doesn't remember a goddamn thing because he brained himself on the concrete. My God, what a brutal spot. Fell into a goddamn hole. He married Maurice, though. They have 2 beautiful daughters, and he has been with WWE for 20 years and counting. And I didn't think he'd last that long. I wasn't the only one. And I'm glad to be eating crow over it. And let me tell you right now, eating a robot, or a puppet rather, from the MST3K days is not easy. I need Pepto, and I think I'm going to have an unhealthy amount of shits. Ow. I'm John Rentham with my review of WWE on A&E Biography, WWE Legends on The Miz. Did I butcher a couple of those words? Probably. Let's roll on. So, let me know your thoughts on this particular show in the comments, please. Let me know your thoughts on The Miz. Did you think The Miz was going to last in WWE for 20 years and counting? No, I certainly didn't. And I do want to apologize for not reviewing the previous entries in this WWE on A&E Biography season. Didn't review the Rob Van Dam one. Didn't review the Steiner Brothers one. It wasn't that I wasn't interested in them, but if they're just going to do an hour, then I'm not going to bother, because like I did with the DDP, the Davey Boy Smith one, even with the ECW one, I would be talking more about the stuff they left out and the stuff they sanitized than really anything, proper. Though I may check them out. If you do want me to review them, you can let me know, and maybe I'll get to them when I can. They are on my DVR. Mark Henry is next week. If that's 2 hours, I might give that one a shot. Wonder if they'll talk about the Michael Hayes thing. Yeah. So anyway, Miz is one of the biggest overachievers in wrestling, period, in the last 20 years. Because I'm not saying I didn't think he'd get into WWE. I do recall hearing about him on The Real World. That show that Rob Thomas wished would stop hassling him. Now that song's in your head. You're welcome. But honestly, Tough Enough, I'll get into it, but man, Tough Enough it produced some good talents, and I don't think it produced I don't think any of the winners ever really achieved much beyond Maven and his glorious eyebrows. So, we started with a shot of his house, Over the Limit 2011, The Chair. I was at that event. That was at the Key Arena, now the Climate Pledge Arena. I'm going to talk about that once we get to the WrestleMania 27 part. But yeah, I was at that particular place. The only pay-per-view I ever attended, I didn't get to No Way Out 2009 for a few reasons. And I'm going to talk about certain things with that particular event, but not who I was in attendance with. So that being said, he looks at himself as dad because he's got 2 beautiful kids along with his wife. His words, not mine, because you're supposed to think that the woman that gave birth to your children and that your children are beautiful, even if they look like the kid from Hook. And if you know, you know. One of the kids from the birth video, or the video when first, I think it was the second daughter, literally looked like a fucking alien. That's mean. Let's get to positive stuff. But you may know me as The Miz, and he's jawsome. He went through a lot of gimmick changes, didn't he? So, Seth Rollins did say Miz's don't grow on trees. He is right, because that tree would have Dutch elm disease if we had much more than one Miz. Look, I've never been the biggest fan of The Miz, but I will give him credit for sticking it out and working really, really hard. And sticking it out is how he got those 2 kids. Ho ho! So, from reality TV to all the stuff that he does. Born in Parma, Ohio. People that live in Ohio, where is that in relation to anything big in Ohio? I know there aren't a lot of big cities in Ohio, but let's work with me here. Born in 1980, his parents divorced when he was in the 5th grade. It was like 2 Christmases. His dad looks like, he just looks weird. Looks like you stuck a mullet on top of a melting pile of, like, taffy. So, Miz was motivated when people doubted him, but if people believed in him, then he tended to shut down. Bit weird, but okay. Weird way to use motivation. He played baseball. His dad tried to motivate him basically to be better in school. The report cards, all the stuff wasn't going well. He handed him a broom and a mop, and he said, "What's this? This is what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life." So then he suddenly started doing better in school. His friends, Justin and Sky, didn't think that the real world stint would happen. Also, I forgot that he was part of the Woodstock 99 documentary, because I haven't watched that in a really long time. I'm surprised we have not done another Woodstock. I'm really going to be surprised, actually, if we don't do a Woodstock 29. Like it could crash, like 1929. So, he got asked a lot of questions, like peeling back layers of an onion. Who would The Miz be? The creator of the real world, Jonathan Murray. Back to New York. That was season 10, I believe. And he didn't exactly fit in well with the cast. He created The Miz character, which is just an extension of Mike, if we're being perfectly honest. And that's what his name is, Mike Mizanin. I don't know him personally. I'm just going with that. And he decided he wanted to get into wrestling. So he did training. He was working, in front of small crowds. He was really, really trying hard, but he was beating his body up. He was broke. He was broke, just beat up mentally and emotionally and financially. But then the Tough Enough 2004 spot came. That was where Marty Wright became the boogeyman. When he lied about his age, the fact that he was 40, and he kept saying he was 30. And Al Snow didn't want liars there. Al Snow, who basically lies about a lot of things, like that he ever drew anything in wrestling. He was great with a mannequin head. And a mannequin head was more over than Al Snow. So, stupid Pete Rosenberg. Peter Rosenberg, whatever. Him and Sam Roberts are like 2 of the worst talking heads. And then you have Brian Gewirtz, who just seems like the type of guy that anybody with any sense would just want to just push into a locker. I'm not saying bullying's okay, but Brian Gewirtz would not be taken seriously or respected. I mean, with that hair. Who am I to talk about somebody's hair but that hair? Put a comb to it. Or put some of Dwayne's piss on it. Maybe that's why it looks like that. Allegedly. So, the reality show label, it kind of became a stigma for him. And even though he tried, and even though he worked hard, it was hard for him to earn respect. And Al Snow didn't think he could do it. Al Snow, that noted guy that had so many great goddamn matches on national television. Oh, he didn't. He didn't. He may have been able to wrestle, and guess what? Name one good Al Snow match. Name one. So, nevertheless, training footage, the Tough Enough stuff. He made it to the final 2. Daniel Puder, by the way, who got thrown to the goddamn lions, chopped to hell in the 2005 Rumble. I think only had 1 year of that $1 million contract, so I think it was like $250,000 a year. Got beat up by Hardcore Holly and Eddie Guerrero, and hey, wait, who else beat him up? Who else was that? WWE doesn't want to mention that. They'll celebrate right now murderer Jimmy Snuka, but they won't. I'm not saying they should celebrate Snuka, but they'll talk about Snuka in glowing terms, and then they won't even mention Benoit. Wonder why. So that being, again, they shouldn't mention either of them. Both, quite frankly, are burning in fucking hell for what they did. So, yeah, Daniel Puder was never going to work out. He had a halfway decent look and nearly broke Kurt Angle's arm in a shoot. Or at least hurt his arm. Kimura'd him. Kurt was not in a good headspace by that point. Deep South wrestling stint. Brian Gewirtz and his stupid hair. And then basically they talk about how Miz got the attention of Vince. I see you as the Ryan Seacrest of WWE. The hoorah thing, I forgot all about that. I mean, it brought back memories, but that seems like a lifetime ago. I mean, I was 25 when that shit happened. And my God, I'm 43. Good God, time is a flat circle. And Bruce Pritchard, noted piece of shit that, hopefully will blow up like one of those characters he eats too much, like Metal Gear or Metal Slug. Maybe like Metal Gear Solid as well, but yeah, Brother Love, that's the best thing he ever did. He ain't come up with anything else without help. So Diva Search 2006, Maurice shows up. Maurice doesn't really speak a lot of English because, French Canadian. But he realized, holy shit, she's really attractive. Miz is going to do the diva hosting thing. Yeah, they mix in footage of current day Miz and Maurice working out, and Maurice working out in skin-tight pants is like, well, that motivates me. Yeah, Maurice looks good. Can't understand a damn thing she says, but at least I can't. But whatever. Yeah, Miz did get treated badly and also got thrown to the goddamn wolves. Him just flubbing the promo, trying to do the live, call in or texting for the Diva Search. He forgot the number. He thought he was going to be fired. Miz then said, well, you know what? People were booing him. People have been booing him. Let's put him in the ring. So they do put him in the ring. Foley was great here because he talked about how a lot of people would have floundered. Miz didn't. Foley was also wearing a shirt so loud that I think even a blind gay man would have heard that and seen that somehow. I was going to make that work somehow, but I don't know. Hogan, by the way, not only melting away as we speak, Randy Savage left this earth, and yet the liar Hulk Hogan, the piece of shit, the racist Hulk Hogan, by the way, who recently cut ties with somebody for a company because, she happened to be African American. But that wasn't the reason. No, that wasn't. Hogan would never do that. Except he would. So, yeah, let's just say, Hogan talked about celebrities or people coming from outside and not being respected. Hogan would know that because he was a bass player and got his leg broken by Hiro Matsuda, or at least part of his leg broken. Maybe his ankle, maybe whatever. Thankfully he got back to wrestling because wrestling was taken to new heights because of the marketing machine. Also Hogan having the physical charisma and the ability to talk people into the building. Did JBL hate him? That's fine. We all hate JBL. At least the vast majority of us do. So, yeah, we then talk about the chicken incident, and it was Chris Benoit, who at that point was so roided up and just on so many drugs that, of course, he was going to snap. Maybe he thought that Miz was making a move on Nancy before Benoit made his move on Nancy. I'm sorry, Nancy is tied up in the phone right now. So, they didn't mention the name, but it was Benoit. And he was kicked out of the locker room. He would have to change in various places, broom closets, the bathroom. Undertaker then faced him in a match on May of 2007. This is just before he got injured and had to take time off. I think tore his bicep or something. And Miz asked Undertaker, if you allow me to come back in the locker room, if you do, I'm going to show the proper respect. And Undertaker is a locker room leader. And also, Miz wasn't gay like Kanyon, and so he didn't bash his head in. And that's what Undertaker did. He found out Kanyon was gay, and that's exactly what he did. And I'm going to keep holding to that, and you're not going to convince me otherwise. So, just let Miz be himself. He was starting to, get a few wins. I think he beat Trent Beretta. This is before we found out that Trent Beretta was a goddamn crackpot to believe in Jordan Peterson and stuff like that. WWE CW, Miz and Morrison, the dirt sheet thing was skipped over. I did like the RU50 thing that they did for Shawn and, Hunter. That was kind of funny. Drafted to Raw in April of 2009. And then he did the thing with Cena where he kept calling Cena out and doing this. It's kind of like what they did with Jericho and Goldberg in 98, for maybe like 6 weeks in 98 or thereabouts. And then Cena just mopped the floor with him at the Bash 2009. Not the Great American Bash, they were just calling it the Bash at this point. And that basically, it was a squash. Now, Miz even said that Cena didn't treat him badly. He was trying to teach him. I don't really know what the case was. I don't really care. It was a squash. Miz at that point probably shouldn't have gotten in a ton of offense. But they built it up quite a bit where you're thinking, Miz might get in at least a flurry of offense. He didn't get in much. I think that match was 5 minutes, maybe? I got to go back and watch that event at some point. But Jesus. So, He does have a beautiful house, and this is his beautiful wife, and these are his beautiful cars. My God, what has he done? He's stuck around WWE for 20 years. So, but Cena was teaching him. He didn't bury him. Cena never buries people. The Nexus 2010. Alex Riley. Then again, Alex Riley kind of buried himself, if we're being perfectly honest. But he worked with Cena on the house show circuit, was learning from him. Media appearances. Hey, if others don't want to do it, I'll do it. I'll promote WWE. I'll earn respect. Vince was doing promo classes. Good God. Good God. Well, a paralegal was probably under his desk. Yeah, that's not even making light of it. I bet you that he probably did have that. But he called Miz up and says, I had you do it last because I knew that you'd finish it right. Ha ha. It's the last time you're going to hear the Vince impression. Just the fact that they mentioned Vince a lot here. And I'm like, I would have made some edits, quite frankly, but whatever. He became U.S. champ. They skipped over the fact that he feuded with Daniel Bryan, now Bryan Danielson. And he lost to Bret Hart in an ODQ match. Because Bret couldn't really do all that much because it was TV and he had the Lloyds of London insurance. He could do a lot on house shows. They showed some house show footage. And he was still able to do some stuff. Not as crisp as he used to because, A, he was in his 50s by that point. And also the stroke and all that. But, yeah, they came back to the Daniel Bryan thing soon. Money in the Bank wins it at the Money in the Bank 2010 event. Cashes in on Randy Orton the night after Survivor Series 2010. They skip over the match with Jerry Lawler a little bit after that, where Michael Cole interfered and we got heel Michael Cole. One of the worst things ever, and if Michael Cole had been sent into a river of piranhas, I would not have missed him. So, and it wasn't even playing a heel. He was just super annoying to the point where it would bring the show down. I actually got to where I had to watch the shows on mute. So, and they skip all the way, they skip over Rumble 2011. They'd skip over, I believe, Elimination Chamber 2011. They go all the way to the press conference of WrestleMania 27. He's the third wheel against Rock and Cena as they're building that for WrestleMania 28. Vince comes up with the idea to have him dress up as The Rock. They do the music, the build, and all that stuff. And then they let the crowd rise up, and then Vince says, go. And he does, and hey, he gets a lot of boos. I do remember that he got quite a few boos. I didn't necessarily care, but he got quite a few boos. He took a header on the concrete at the, near the conclusion of that WrestleMania 27 main event. He doesn't remember it. WrestleMania 27, by the way, widely regarded as the top 5 worst WrestleMania of all time, at least to me. It was not very good. I mean, when Undertaker and Triple H was considered the best match, and I thought that match sucked dick, then there you go. Because one, it was too long. There was no story investment because Triple H could always work with the top guy. He can never be the top guy. And he carries that with him still. But that's just me. And I'm not even saying this as a big Miz fan. Miz, to me, an overachiever. I would never have thought he would have been WWE champion. I would have never thought he would have been Intercontinental champion like 8, 9 times. So, we skip to Extreme Rules 2011. He loses in a triple threat cage match against Cena and Morrison, where Cena pins him. Over Limit 2011, completely skipped over. That match sucked, by the way, the I Quit match. The show itself was not great. I got to see Bret Hart live, put Michael Cole in the sharpshooter, and it's a shame he didn't crank back so Michael Cole couldn't have walked out under his own power, but I digress. At least Christian and Orton were good. The women's match wasn't. Look the card up. How could you expect the women's match to be good? And then he felt like he was spiraling. They skipped over him teaming with Truth as Awesome Truth. I thought that would have been something good to talk about. And then after leaving for like a month, he's doing direct-to-DVD stuff, The Marine 3, and I think he did like 3 Marine movies. None of the Marine movies were good. I might retro-review them at some point, but Jesus. Miz became the A-lister, was doing the direct-to-DVD movies. They skipped over 2015, went to the night after WrestleMania 32 that is still going on some alternate universe. He beat Zack Ryder for the Intercontinental Championship the day after Zack Ryder shockingly won the IC title ladder match. It had about 15 million people in it. Maurice joined and they became the It Couple. I've never been the biggest fan of Maurice, but you know what? I'll admit they got some good anger. So much anger for me that I basically wanted to stop reviewing the show. So, Mauro Ranallo had a brief audio clip of, calling WWE television. And yes, he could get excitable. Yes, sometimes he could talk over entrances when he shouldn't. And I love the guy. Great guy. Overcame a whole lot of stuff. Worked on, did commentary on the Canadian independence. I actually remember seeing him on a local independent station that, back in, it was at least the early 2000s. And, so I just wanted to shout Mauro there really, really quick. Glad he seems to be doing better. I know he got on social media, but I like Mauro. So then we talk about the Talking Smack promo from The Miz. They briefly recap the thing from NXT, the first season of NXT with Daniel Bryan. Bryan even admits he didn't like Miz. Mike, whatever. The promo got attention, and look, I'll say this. Seek out the promo from Miz, especially if you know the backstory, just revisit it. Pretty goddamn good. I did rewatch it just before doing this review, and hey, hell of a promo. Gotta give him credit. Miz has always been able to talk. That's never been, disputed. And Miz and Mrs., good lord. The media blitz. Maurice has kids. One looks like an alien, as I said. Wins the WWE Championship after he won he wins the WWE Championship, cashing in on Bobby Lashley after he beat Otis for the, was it there or was it Fastlane? Because I think he won the briefcase from Otis Elimination Chamber, and then I think he cashed in at Fastlane, and then dropped it to Lashley again shortly after, which is weird. I mean, maybe I'm mixing up the timeline. It was a pandemic era, so I try not to remember much. Hogan is melting away, as I noted. Maybe I'll review the Mark Henry one next week. Mania 37, it was Miz and Morrison against Priest and Bad Bugs Bunny. I kid. Bad Bunny, eating crow, didn't think that he would do well. He did. And then Logan Paul, who has taken this like a fish to water, and he's also a fucking shitbag that likes to have other shitbags on his podcast and is a shitbag that likes to scam people. And I don't feel any sympathy for him. Hopefully his wife can carry that kid to full term and maybe take that kid somewhere else away from him so he doesn't have any happiness. So, Mania 39, he hosted with Snoop. They skip over what happened with Shane tearing his quad. Funny. It's still funny. It shouldn't be funny, but it is. And now, he's got a happy life, a happy wife, and kids. He wants to be a great dad. He still wants to work in WWE. I don't think he's got that much time left in the ring. I mean, he works, I guess, a safe enough style. He's adequate in the ring. He's not necessarily great, but he doesn't need to do a ton of flips and dip-de-doo-dahs and everything to get attention. So yeah, Miz is an overachiever. Am I a big fan of him? No. Do I respect the fact that he's hung around for 20 years and has worked hard? Sure. Don't know how you can't. So yeah, I apologize for not reviewing the Steiners and RVD ones, but guys, I'm tired and there's only so much wrestling I can watch. Nevertheless, agree, disagree with what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Rentlin. I'll see you soon.